Welcome everybody to the March 2023 FPV New Product Roundup, where me and my partner, It's Blunty, go through new products in the world of FPV that we think you ought to know about. How you doing this month, Blunty?
Good, Joshua. How are you doing this month?
I am also doing well. I am excited by some of the products we've got. We got some pretty hot stuff this month. And I think we should just get right into it as soon as we tell people that there's going to be a giveaway at the end of the stream. I don't know. Should you tell them right up front, or should you wait for the true fans to get into the middle of the video before they find out?
I think they gotta wait.
All right. Well, we are going to do a giveaway at the end of the video, and there are links to these products and timestamps and chapter markers if you want to see what there is down in the video description. But let's get right into it with the top products for March 2023. What do we got, Blunty?
First up, we've got a unique product for sure. We've got actually two unique products. Foxeer teased a new camera, or what looked like a new camera, and then we found out it's actually a thermal camera. There are two options for thermal analog CVBS cameras, and these are actually pretty neat. I'm going to guess that most people watching this today aren't going to be ordering this, but for the people who are excited about what we're showing today, they're probably really excited because I believe these are a lot cheaper, maybe missing a couple features, but a lot cheaper than other options are.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are two thermal cameras from Foxeer.
Yeah, this confused me because the price obviously puts them well out of reach of most FPV hobbyists. But I think when you look at the photos, the sample photos they've got in the listing, it kind of starts to clue you in that these aren't necessarily being marketed towards FPV hobbyists. These look like they're intended for use with, government, military, surveillance, search and rescue, people who need true thermal cameras, not just like, a low light camera. And if you're shopping for true thermal cameras, like the Flare Boson is one that comes to mind, this seems like it's fairly reasonably priced. But Blunty, yeah. I think there's something about these cameras that makes them stand out other than the price. Hold on, go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was just going to say, we have a member of the FPV Freedom Coalition. I'm a member of that, for people who don't know, but another member is Rob Robertson, who is a UAS, the lead of his UAS department. I don't remember his exact title, in his police department. And he specifically said that these are a lot cheaper than what would be typically the normal option. He pointed out that, the $3,500 one does 640 by 512 at 60 frames. So if it is actually like a quality response on the camera, it would be like a flyable night vision FPV camera, or a secondary camera you could add with white hot. And yeah, it might be something you could add to like drones 3, 4, 5, and 6, when your couple main drones have the high expensive equipment that ties into your software and stuff. So yeah, seems like there's a niche there for sure.
In case it's not obvious to the viewers, these will hook up to an analog VTX. And there are some people out there who, for example, will have a camera switcher, and they'll have one daylight camera, normal FPV camera, and then they'll be able to switch with a flip of the switch over into the night vision camera. But what makes these most interesting, I think, is not just their price, but the fact that night vision technology in the United States is governed by ITARS. ITARS. I don't even know what it stands for, but basically any potentially weaponizable technology that's made in the USA has restrictions on its export. So there are countries in the world where you can't buy a FLIR camera. You're just not allowed. They're not allowed to export it to you. And it feels like there's two markets Foxeer's going here. One is people who can't afford something like a FLIR, and the other is people who are legally prohibited from being sold to. So very interesting. If you're one of those two people, tell us in the comments, I guess. Yeah. Don't. Okay, but we thought we teased this earlier, and I thought we owe it to the viewers to come back and circle back and show them what it was.
Yeah, next up we've got a pretty big release, or at least seems to be the biggest release we've had for a while, is the new Walksnail Avatar HD Pro Kit. We got two new cameras. We got a V2 and a Pro camera, and we got a V2 VTX, which has a 32 gig onboard gyro and storage for DVR.
Yeah, and I've got a full review of this stuff up on my channel, and I will certainly link it down in the video description. So let's focus on the highlights of what makes this different. Blunty, you mentioned 32 gig of onboard storage. There is still an 8 gig VTX, so make sure you're buying the one you intend to buy. You can buy the camera with gyro flow support. So that's both the V2 and the Pro camera can be ordered. And they have a gyro sensor inboard, and they record gyro data on the DVR, and you can stabilize the footage with gyro flow. So the Pro camera, what makes it stand out is it has a Sony StarViz sensor, which has exceptionally good low light sensitivity. It's not a true night vision camera, but if you're familiar with starlight cameras like the Runcam Eagle or the Foxeer Cat, or the Cat X Polar, it's similar to those. One thing that makes it stand out is it does support high frame rate, which traditionally those low light cameras have been low frame rate, high latency. So you can get the full 100 frames per second that the Avatar system is capable of. The V2 camera, what makes it stand out is that it can do a true 4:3 mode. So you can set the Pro camera to 4:3, but it has a native 16:9 sensor and it just chops off the edges of the screen. So there's really no point. Also, we learned something about it from Mads Tech, didn't we?
Yes. He said in his testing, for people who don't know, the Walksnail, the original VTX has some issues with its broadcast, where it seems to be extra noisy, and then it has an extra carrier right around where your GPS would be looking for a signal. So there have been issues where essentially you have trouble getting a GPS lock when you're using that Avatar system on your quad. But Mads Tech is reporting he hasn't fully done a full testing on it, but he's put a VNA on it and has noticed that that noise and that carrier appear to be basically gone at this point. So it's looking like they've solved that issue with the GPS interference.
That's exciting. I did a little bit of a test of the performance of this system, and because one of the things you'll notice is they've reduced the number of antennas down from 2 to 1. So fewer antennas seems like it might compromise performance. In my test, the V2 video transmitter didn't perform any worse, but also didn't really perform any better than the V1. So it seems like it's a wash. It still, I think, isn't that great in 1080p mode. It isn't that great in 50 megabit per second mode, but it wasn't that great either on the V1. 1200 milliwatts, not that much better than 700. So it seems like a lateral step, but it does have some other nice features that make it stand out, and probably will become the new standard for people flying Walksnail. Hey there, folks. It's Joshua and Blunty from the future. We've got a new product that came out after we finished recording, but before this released, and we thought it was such a big deal that we wanted to make sure it got included. So we sat down to record this little insert. And the new product is the DJI Goggles Integra. It's a new version of the DJI Goggles 2. By the way, don't be confused. There's also the V2 goggles. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Goggles 2 and the Goggles Integra. Blunty, what kind of changes have they made to the Goggles Integra?
So they've added and taken away some different things. We've got an integrated headband now, so the headband's kind of part of the build. If you've ever used like a VR headset, it's similar to that, where you've got a back piece of foam, and then there's an actual screw knob on the back that lets you do tightening for that integrated strap. It's also got a battery in there, and that battery runs through the strap. So you've got about 2 hours of battery life from a built-in battery that's on your head. They've taken away the plug-in port for batteries, the jack. So now you've just got the USB-C. If you want to plug in a USB power bank to try to power the goggles extra, they can run while they're powering. Then we've also got a loss of the diopters. They've changed to like the old style diopters with just the sliders. So if you have vision issues, they come with a set of corrective lenses. But if those aren't going to be perfect for you, or if you want to get something dialed in, you'll have to make sure you're ordering diopters for these specifically. Yeah,
and as somebody who wears glasses, I really do like the adjustable focus, because it's kind of annoying if I hand my goggles to somebody else to use to have to take the diopters out. It's really nice to just have adjustable focus. But it's not a total deal breaker if they include common diopters. And of course, you can always get custom diopters if cut and use them if you wanted to. The included battery is kind of nice. A lot of people like that with the VR headset, and you will be able to plug in USB while you're flying. If the battery dies on you, you're not screwed because you can't change the battery. Of course, the biggest change that they made is a reduction in price. It's down to $500 now, so it's significantly cheaper, about $150 cheaper. There's a smaller field of view. It's about 45 degrees, I think, versus like 50-something degrees.
44 versus 51 on the old goggles too. It looks like they've redone the optics, that removing that focus knob, and it seems like that has also changed the field of view by default in there to accommodate those sliders and stuff. It's also they've also removed wireless streaming. So if you did the DLNA, that's gone.
I don't think a lot of people did that, but yeah,
there's the dot matrix display on the side that used to show you what channel you're on or pilot number you were. That's gone. There used to be a speaker that's gone, and there's also a audio jack that's gone as well. So sure, you just have to broadcast from that control station location, but it has to be in communication with the goggles, because otherwise the goggles wouldn't know that it's okay to fly, right? Or with the drone in some way. Yeah.
And people are freaking out about this. I mean, people who fly the Avata, you have no choice, and frankly, DJI also has no choice. The United States government basically said that drones, pre-built drones in the United States, have to follow this rule. There is no world in which DJI says, well, we're not going to do it. And then they just get fined millions and millions of dollars by the US government for selling non-compliant hardware. That's not going to happen. So DJI, if you buy an Avata or any future going DJI drone, it's going to comply with this, and you can like it or lump it, but that's just it. But hobbyists are wondering whether the inclusion of GPS in the goggles, because these goggles are also used with the O3 air unit on hobby drones, they're wondering whether that means that DJI is going to force them to use remote ID. And Blendy, I think we both agree that we can't say that will never happen, but there's a technical reason why that wouldn't work today. And there's sort of a business philosophical reason why it doesn't make sense why DJI would do that. You want to tackle those? Let's tackle those.
Yeah, there might even be one more. So basically, the main point here, I think, is that the addition of the GPS in the goggles has no bearing on whether you're going to get remote ID or not on an O3 or air unit or whatever, right? Because GPS in the goggles is not required. Like your ground station broadcast location is not required if you're using a module-based solution. So there's like 3 ways to comply with remote ID. One is a FRIA, you don't have to have any of that information. One is a full standard remote ID solution, so like the Avata. And on that, you need GPS on the drone, and you need to be broadcasting at all times the GPS from the ground station, your goggles, your person. Then the third one is remote ID with a module, and that's to retrofit a drone that doesn't have remote ID. So like a FPV drone you have today, like a 5-inch, let's say, with an O3 on it, for instance, right? So that drone, let's say DJI turned on, remote ID on the O3. Okay, well, first of all, you would need to have a GPS attached to the O3 and some way for the O3 to communicate over some protocol, probably over the flight controller, and that's definitely not set up to the GPS, to get that GPS information so they can find out if you have a lock or not.
Because the O3 doesn't have a GPS unit in it. So the O3 by itself, as it exists today, cannot broadcast remote ID information without an external GPS connection, which DJI could do that. They can talk to the flight controller. They could say, we won't enable the O3 unless the flight controller gives us GPS information. But they haven't done that. And there's no reason to believe so, because regulatorily there's not there, right? There's no reason for them to do that. There's no requirement. The only requirement is on manufacturing for a standard remote ID drone to be manufactured with remote ID. And that's the rule. And that's point number 2 there. So number 1 is technically the O3 doesn't have GPS in it. So they cannot simply flip a switch and enable remote ID from the O3, however that would work. And number 2 is regulatorily, as you said, they are not required to do that. The only reason DJI is putting remote ID in the Avata is because the United States government made them do it. They never did that before. They did other things that maybe you like or maybe you don't like. So I don't see, they are not required to do that, and it will piss off all of their customers if they do that. All right, that is the new Goggles Integra from DJI. If you're in the market for a set of goggles with to use with an O3 Air unit and or an Avata, this is an interesting choice. It's a lot cheaper, leaves out a lot of features that maybe you didn't want anyway. If you use it with the Avata, you don't have to plug your damn phone in anymore, which I think a lot of Avata users are going to be like, yes, sir, please. And if you're going to use it with the O3, you're going to save a little money. There you go. I got one more top product this month, Blunty, and I think when you see what it is, you're going to be a little bit skeptical as to why something so small and weird counts as a top product. But I love clever little simple things that solve a big problem in a very sort of efficient way. And that's what this is. This is the Lumenier Universal Antenna Adapter Kit for the DJI Goggles 2. So what this does is it adapts I think it's an MCX connector on the Goggles 2 to a standard RPSMA or SMA connector, letting you use your existing antennas instead of having to buy custom antennas with an MCX connector on them. First of all, there are almost none of those. There's like one set of antennas from TrueRC. But the problem is that if you already have antennas from your DJI Goggles 2, sucks to have to throw out a $75, $80 set of antennas. And now you don't have to. You just have to spend $20 on this adapter. Okay, but
yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. So if that is something that you're interested in, just choose RPSMA or SMA, depending on what type of antennas you've got, and Bob's your uncle.
All right. Well, next up, we're going to go to flight controllers and ESCs. And this month, we've only got one. And it's going to be a new product, or what appears to be a new product from Zeez, the V3 version of their 2020 flight controller.
Yeah, just to be clear, that's 2020 as the size of the flight controller, not the year. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, this must be an old product. But this does appear to be a new product because I've never seen it before. It does have a USB micro on it, which feels a little dated. Looks like a micro.
I believe they've just been updating... like carrying forward a bunch of stuff from the old design, like so that the board shape is different, but I believe some of the layout is the same, or at least it looks like.
It's the board shape that actually made this stand out to me, though. Zeez has always been really sort of innovative and outside of the box with the layout and design and features of their flight controllers. So here we've got a 20 by 20 flight controller with so many features packed into it. 8 motor outputs, so it's usable with a hexacopter or an octocopter, and just all these pads by the side of the board, clear labeling. I haven't dug deep into the specs of this. The price of $65 is pretty reasonable these days. Usable with digital VTX. I think if you're looking for a 20 millimeter flight controller, it certainly is worth considering and comparing to the other stuff that's out there. And my favorite feature, Blunty, is these little slits right here that let you put in the isolation gummies without having to poke them through and drive yourself crazy. Every flight controller should have these features. I'm just going to check and make sure. Yes, okay, mine has these features. Okay, I can rant safely.
All right, next up we're going to move to frames. The first one is going to be the Kronos, which is Minchan Kim's new ultralight racing frame. For people who don't know, Minchan Kim is a lightning fast racer, one of the top people in the whole world for racing. And he's got his new frame that he's using.
And I got to say that most racing frames have sort of coalesced towards a certain style. You know, just like, you know, you look at animals and lots of them are quadrupeds because over the course of millions of years of evolution, that turned out to be a good way to be successful. And you see that with racing frames where everything sort of looks like a 533 switchback in some ways. So my first reaction to a lot of racing frames is to go, well, why wouldn't you just buy a switchback? It's not that expensive and it's proven. But when Minchan Kim comes out with a racing frame, and by the way, he used to fly the switchback. I assume he's moving to his own frame now. Well, you got to give it a second look. What stands out about this frame?
Well, this is lighter than a switchback. Comes in at 50 grams, which I believe is one of the lightest FPV racing frames you can get out there. So I believe that's its main claim to fame. You know, he says it's still super stiff, flies well. But it also, is nice and light, 50 grams.
It's very interesting that he is mounting the flight controller diagonally I guess that lets it be even more compact because the flight controller and ESC sort of tuck into the space behind the camera and in between the standoffs. That's really slick.
Also, fashionable tape on the arms there, I've noticed.
Oh yeah, red tape. Doesn't look like electrical tape though, but I respect the color. It looks like fabric tape. I think it's hilarious that he doesn't have. Do you see that he doesn't have any tape or shroud on this XT60?
Yeah. He's just worried about racing.
He just wants to go fast, son.
Yeah.
Super clean 3D print. That's a beautiful 3D print. If all the 3D prints that it ships with are that good looking, I'd be impressed. It is available in a version for straight stack. I wonder if they've moved the standoffs and or if you're going to need to really compress that stack. It makes, you have not a lot of room to work with if you decide to go with the straight stack version.
Yeah, he says that due to the small body of the frame, the distance between the front and rear standoffs is 37.5 millimeters. Most ESCs will need to be mounted sideways in the straight stack on the MCK. Anything smaller than the Foxeer Slim 60 will fit without modification. Some larger ESCs may require minor modifications to the main battery pads to squeeze them in.
I see.
It's very tight.
So the idea is that you've got these racing-focused 20 millimeter ESCs that stick out and hang out the sides, and by rotating it diagonally, it helps squeeze it in there, and then that lets you compress the frame along the front to back axis, which then saves weight. That's really, I mean, at this point, there's only so many innovations left to refine the design, but it really feels like he's done something really clever here. So, good. I don't know, Evan, what are you going to do, buddy? Evan Turner Switchback. Is this going to be the new Switchback killer? We'll have to see. Well, Minchan Kim is a well-known name in the world of FPV, and anything he puts out, people are going to take a look at. But I've got a brand here that I've never heard of this brand. It's Daddy Loves Quads, and Race Day Quads just picked them up, and in their new product listing are a bunch of frames from Daddy Loves Quads. I thought it was worth pointing out. We really don't know anything about this company. I apologize if you've been in business for years and years and years, and I'm just out of the loop. They do have some interesting little designs, like this 3.5 inch. This style of 3.5 inch semi toothpick is one of my favorites for sub 250 freestyle. Let's see. Here's a 3-inch toothpick frame. They're leaning hard into the 3D printing. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess you could always leave it off. Yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts, Blunty? I just wanted to point it out. Give him some love.
Yeah, not in particular. Seems interesting.
If you have bought a frame from them, if you have any perspective, positive or negative, let us know down in the comments.
All right. Next up, we're going to take a look at some bind and flies. And the first couple bind and flies we've got are from a company called Two Raw Aerials, which appears to be working in the cinelifter world. They've got a 11/10-inch optional frame called the Startruss, and they've also got the Queenbee, which is a 13-inch prop size frame.
And what makes these guys stand out is that they're not just trying to make high-performance cinelifters. You can see they've got this truss structure, which they say gives them exceptionally good resonance characteristics, vibration characteristics, and so forth. We'll have to take their word for that because I haven't flown one, and I don't know if I ever will get a chance to. But they're also focusing on sort of making them easy to use for professionals who maybe don't want to be, pulling out a soldering iron and dicking with a hobby quad while they're on a set. So, for example, on the Queenbee, they've got a quick release battery system. Maybe we can see it here. We've got a battery tray on the bottom. Can I zoom in here? A little bit. And then it literally just sets down on top of the battery tray, and there's a connector there that connects to all the batteries. So you can easily change the battery without having to unplug all this nonsense. So I don't fly cinelifters on the daily. I know you don't either, Blunty, but we thought we would point these out to our viewers who might be interested as a new player in the cinelifter market. That might be worth a look.
Yeah, they point out They point out that the 12S 11-inch, the Startruss, is capable of like 137 miles an hour. So it's pretty good for chasing, dives, things you might want to do long range and be able to get back in that 8-minute time. You need to, get back to your launching point. It's about 8-minute life on that one. And then the Queenbee, they talk about the fact that it's set up for a RS3, basically with a full camera package or a Movie Pro. And that can be set up, basically it's meant to be controlled by 3 people. So you got somebody controlling the drone, the camera framing, and the focus. And you kind of got a team effort coming from that thing. So for groups who are attempting to do this stuff, like you said, this may be a good option for them to get something bind and fly that's sort of out of the box, is set up and proven to do these things.
Absolutely. I was skeptical. I'm always skeptical when somebody comes out of the blue and they're like, look, we're a new company. We're making high-end cinema rigs. It's like, are you? Who are you? But then I saw that these guys posted PID Toolbox and Black Box logs on their product page. And I was like, okay, yeah, that you now at least have the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
That I'm sold. I'll give you a chance. Well, from a great big cinelifter to something much, much smaller. This is the Happymodel Crux35 Bind and Fly. This is the V2 of the Crux35. Like I said earlier, Blunty, 3.5-inch is like my absolute favorite for sub 250 freestyle. Just take your GoPro off, forget about recording high definition footage, and just rip the shit out of a little 3.5-inch. And the Crux35 has always been a solid option. What have they done with the V2? New Express LRS onboard all-in-one flight controller, UART-based Express LRS receiver, so you can flash it and manage it normally. That's good. I don't know, mostly just relying on the reputation of the Crux35 V1, which has a pretty solid fan base. And it's $150. So.
All right, next up we've got an even smaller quad for you. We've got the BetaFPV Bind and Fly Meteor75 Pro BT2 version. And you got an option, of course, of Express LRS, Free Sky, or TBS Crossfire. Wait, how do you have a TBS version? Are they soldering? I guess they're just soldering.
They must be soldering on a Crossfire receiver. BetaFPV's done that in the past. Okay. They solder on a Crossfire receiver, and I think it's got the Minimmortal T antenna.
Gotcha. So the thing that stood out to me on this, I wasn't sure what was going on because it's a pre-order, but I noticed the Meteor75 Pro features 45mm propellers.
Hey there, folks. Joshua from the future here. I feel like Blunty and I didn't have a lot intelligent to say about this quad, so instead I'm going to insert this phone call that I had with Aaron Ciotti where we talked about it, and he had a lot of intelligent things to say. Where are you on this new 75mm Beta FPV quad with the 40mm props?
You have to use their stupid cross-style AIO. You can't use a regular AIO.
Oh, their frame doesn't... That is it. The cockroach frame? What do they put? What do they use?
So their pro frame. Whenever you see the word pro in a Meteor frame, they've run a bigger duct and they've pulled the ducts in to take up the space that's saved by the cross style AIO. The problem with the cross style AIO is
props on there, isn't it?
Right. Right.
Oh.
Yeah. But the problem, the problem is the cross-style AIOs don't have VTXs built in. So now you have to and it's just so annoying to solder up and
oh God, everything on a tiny whoop soldering is annoying. No.
Yeah. And the thing that I really like about it is that they worked with GemFan on the propeller. So the prop is great. That 45mm biblade tri-blade is really great.
So if you didn't have to build it, if you bought a Bind and Fly, what do you think?
I mean, my deal with it is what's it for?
75 is already a little bit powerful for inside, especially if you're a noob. So then to take a 75 and make it a 45mm prop, so now it's no good for outside. Does it cross over then? And now it's better for outside?
Yes. Yeah. It's the whole, to me at least, the whole point of it is that it's for jungle gyms outside. That's the only use for it.
Interesting.
And that's a great use for it. Don't get me wrong, but we can already do that with the 75s with more prop options. So I mean, I don't see an advantage. I think it's just a different option, like the Modula 7 1S.
Yeah.
is still a little bit better because it's an all-in-one with the VTX and an invincible camera and canopy, and the frame is really strong.
You would actually take the regular 75 over the Pro because you like the flight controller better. It's not going to fly quite as well. Is there somebody out there who really wants the flight characteristics of the Pro and like they're like, nah, fuck it, I'll take the extra 10% performance or whatever it is?
I don't think so.
That person's got to exist, right?
Well, so it's going to use an external VTX, which makes it heavier, but then it's got the extra prop. So, I mean, I guess what it comes down to is how durable is BetaFPV's frame versus the Meteor 7 frame. But the Meteor 7 frame is bulletproof. So, like, I think it's just close your eyes and throw a dart.
Well, there's a whole lot more of this conversation, but I don't want to take up too much time here in the new product roundup. I'm going to post this whole conversation with Aaron Ciotti over on my Patreon page as a patron exclusive. There's a link down in the video description where you can join up if you would like to get access to that. Next up, Blunty, we've got a product that I have seen a few people very excited about. Some of them might be reviewers who are given the product to review, so I'm not sure how seriously I should take it. But this product confuses me because it feels like a step back. It is the Flywoo Cinerace 2.0, and it's a step back in that it's a Cinewhoop 2.0, so 2-inch props, but it's got the older style ducts, and I thought we had moved away from those, realized that ducts on Cinewhoops are usually pointless, and gone to smaller, lighter, better handling, just prop guards, like the GepRC Cinelog, for example. I don't know. I can't tell what's going on here. It just confuses me. I don't like it.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is because it's called Cinerace, we saw those race whoops, and all the race whoops still had the ducts like this. So it's possible that they're carrying it over because it's a Cinerace. But yeah, I would agree. Typically, you would expect people to have moved away from these by now, since they don't seem to be doing a ton. And like you said, they cause air resistance and things like that.
Oh, you're right. It actually explicitly referenced the race whoop by Freezillion. Freezillion is the guy who pioneered the race whoop, who designed the original race whoop frame. He had the idea. He said Cinewhoops are great for crashing. They're durable. They have great prop guards. Why not make a high-performance Cinewhoop that you could race? And it's sort of a passion project of his. I see that this is an extension of that. Okay, that makes sense then. It wouldn't be a Cinerace without these guards. Nevertheless, it does look like they're sort of marketing it like a Cinewhoop. In other words, it's got the naked GoPro on it, which I wouldn't race, it would destroy it. So just don't put the naked GoPro on it and race the shit out of it. $500. Okay, the O3 air unit. How much is the analog version? Vista, Nebula. Is there an analog version? There isn't. Am I misreading this?
No, there's only digital. So.
What's going on in the world? $354 for Cadix Vista, Polar Nano, Nebula Pro. That's one I would take probably. Only $500 for the O3 version. Don't get a racing drone with an O3. You're going to destroy the camera.
Look how you're not going to be able to race it anywhere.
Right, no one's gonna let you. Saying no one will let you run an O3 at a race because of the timing system and so forth.
Correct.
Yeah. What's going on with this camera? Does it even up tilt? Surely it up tilts, but I don't see how.
I don't know, but it looks like it's farther out than the ducts, and it's going to get smashed the first time you crash.
What? Oh, but it's got this 3D printed guard around it, Blunty. It'll protect it.
Yeah. They'll both crumple, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. This frame clearly was not designed for the O3. They just sort of retrofitted some kind of an O3 adapter to it.
So this is a double don't buy the O3 version of this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. At least this version will have some protection. All right, anyway. If you're not sure about this, go to YouTube and search for Race Whoop. And you could even search for Freezillion, Zillion. And there's content up there that you can see it fly. You can hear his thoughts about it. You see what other people are saying and decide if it's something for you. Okay. Continuing on, Blunty, to our favorite subject in the world, motors. You know we love motors.
We got two motors today. Yes. A big one and a little one.
Okay.
The first one we've got is the Newbeedrone Flow. They've got an 0802 motor, 25,000 kV. We wanted to let you know that was on stock. For people who don't know, the Flow motors were a good, cheap option you could buy in bulk. That's the main appeal of the Flows that I was aware of previously. Unfortunately, it looks like these are going to be $10 a piece, so back to standard motor pricing. But I do like my larger Flow motors, so hopefully these are similar in quality.
Yeah, Newbeedrone usually makes good motors, and they have a lot of specialization in the whoop world, in the micro world. 25,000 kV, pretty good kV. Some people are going up to the higher 28 or 30,000 kV. Guys like Aaron Ciotti are like, I don't even care. I don't even want to know it exists if it's below 28,000 kV, but not everybody feels that way. Newbeedrone, I think, trying to be a little bit more manageable on people's batteries and realizing that not everybody is an 11 out of 10 performance pilot. $10 a pop. How's that compare to like Happymodel? I know, Newbeedrone, it hurts you right now that I compared your motors to Happymodel. Happymodel 0802. So they're a little more expensive, but not that much.
Yeah, pretty close, it looks like.
Yeah. They're going to have Newbeedrone's oddball connector on them, aren't they? So they're not going to plug in directly to like a Happymodel flight controller. You'll need to solder.
That would be correct. Yeah, we should probably let people know that these are going to be Newbeedrone's proprietary connector, some other version of JST. I think they listed as JST 1.0. I think the normal ones are 1.25, right?
Well, this says 1.25. Well, wait, it says 1.25 motor plug replacement. So...
do they have a second set you can solder on?
They do. Okay, well... So... They got solder pads here that you can solder the motor wires directly to. And they come with, presumably, the JST 1.0 connector that Newbeedrone uses on their flight controllers. But they also come with some spare wires that you can solder on if you want to swap them out. Okay, Newbeedrone, I see you.
You know what?
You're trying.
You know what? That's better. So
it's better.
Not all the way, but it's better. I would like to have seen just an option when you order. I mean, who's going to need both? Probably nobody. But it's at least good to have the option there for people who need it. So just so you know, when you order these, they aren't going to have standard plugs on them. You'll have to manually solder those standard plugs with the wires.
They're going to have Newbeedrones. They're Blunty. They are standard plugs if you buy Newbeedrone flight controllers.
Okay. All
right. Anyway, the other motor that we've got is the CNHL SpeedyPizza AxisFlying Diavola. And I pointed out because SpeedyPizza batteries are known as kind of a good buy. They're made by CNHL. And here SpeedyPizza is partnering with AxisFlying to make a motor. It's a 2207 1960 kV or 2020 kV. So it feels like a racing-ish motor. And the price is $23, which, okay, that's the price where I will at least think about looking at your motor. A $27 motor, and I'm just like, this is clearly like, I think it's probably overpriced in the 2207 size. So now let's look at this motor and see it, like how it stands up. I heard someone say that two-piece bells were more durable than one-piece bells, Blunty, which surprised me. Their theory was that the steel ring around the side is more durable than a milled out piece of aluminum because aluminum is softer. That's interesting.
I'm not sure I could speak to that, maybe, but I would say I think it's much less often that you see damaged bells versus separated two-piece bells, but I could be, that's at least from what I've seen.
Yeah.
My experience is you see quite a few of those separated bells. So
yeah. Also, a lot of times the damage is on the top anyway, like the top edge. And that's still, it was a plausible thought. I thought it was worth throwing out. Specs, please. Specs, please. Thrust test, don't care. Specs, please. No real specs. Like, what aluminum alloy is it? Don't know. Is it 7075 or don't know? What bearing does it have? Doesn't say. Is it like a high-end Japanese bearing or is it just a cheaper bearing? Doesn't say. Titanium shaft? Maybe we shouldn't look at the Race Day Quads page. Maybe we should look at the AxisFlying page. AxisFlying generally makes good motors. Here's China Hobby Line's page. Come on, China Hobby. So SpeedyPizza / CNHL went to AxisFlying and said, make me a motor. AxisFlying OEM the motor. Well, I've looked at 3 different websites, including SpeedyPizza, CNHL, and not seen actual specs for this motor. By actual specs, I know there's a thrust stand and dimensions, but like specs like what, there's missing stuff. What bearing does it come with? What aluminum alloy is the bell made out of? Is the shaft titanium or steel? There's missing specs here that is relevant to comparing these motors to other motors on the market, and that's extremely frustrating. On the other hand, it means I can't really pick it apart, and I can't really say whether this is or is not worth the price.
I found the website. It does not say.
Okay. It's a pretty motor. AF227 is $27 at Newbeedrone. So that makes me think that this motor at $22 is not a high-end motor, especially because there's got to be a little bit of margin in there for CNHL, SpeedyPizza to take their cut. So my guess is that this is like a $15 motor marked up to, well, I don't know. I shouldn't get too specific, but that's probably what it specs compared to, but we don't know because they're not on the webpage. All right. Okay. Well, it's our favorite section, motors. We got just a few more products to go through before we get to the giveaway. We decide which of these products we're going to give away this month. We're going to go into the sort of random accessories, miscellaneous small BS that didn't really fit anywhere else. And the first one is another one of those little things that solves a problem in a clever and useful way. And so it stands out to me. The problem that this solves, Blunty, is if you have a naked GoPro, how do you power it? Not all naked GoPros are capable of taking battery voltage. They need a voltage regulator. And what this is a little board that plugs into your balance connector. Hang on. There we go. So it'll take 3 to 6S input and then output 5 volts. It comes with a cable to plug into your GoPro. It's $10. It's not the only thing out there that solves this problem, but it looks like a pretty solid choice. And I just wanted to throw it out there for people who need that.
All right. Next up, we've got a new FPV backpack in our random accessories, finishing up the show category. And this is an HGLRC backpack that they've listed on Banggood that I saw.
HGLRC. Interesting.
Kind of came out of nowhere. Wasn't expecting it. But we've got one of my favorite things about products, which is fun with translation.
Okay. What do you got?
If you look at that yellow patch on the side, if you scroll up to that.
Is this melon well? I could not begin to speculate on what that was meant to say.
Yes, I did some research.
Oh, you figured it out? No.
Yes. I believe it's a Chinese phrase called "Is this melon ripe?" Because if you look at, I did the translate on the characters, and it comes out to "Is this melon ripe?" which is a Chinese saying. I believe meant to say like, "Have you shown your best attributes yet? Are you ripe?" As a melon. Oh,
I like that. Yeah. That's actually a nice saying. I don't know. I wonder, they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review this, and I haven't answered yet. I'm torn. I actually think this backpack looks pretty cool.
I agree. It's costly. It's $180, but it does seem like it has a lot of options, and if it holds up, it'd be a good backpack.
That's expensive for a backpack, but by the time you decide I'm going to buy like an FPV backpack, you're in the $180 to $200 range. That's what everything else in this category is. If you want a cheaper backpack, you're going to be buying a different kind of backpack. So it's got the straps on the back for holding the quads. It's got a lot of room on the sides. They show like an entire cinewhoop. That's actually a race whoop, isn't it? Strapped to the side. Lots of pockets. I dig how this tripod straps on the bottom. That's kind of clever. I guess you're going to be putting your backpack on it. Anyway, nobody's forcing you to do it. Like they've got some really thoughtful stuff in here.
Yeah, this is one of those that I think if it holds up, this might be a good option.
Yeah. Tell me in the comments if you want me to review this. Or if you don't, if you're like, nah. I don't know. I'm torn. It looks like there's a laptop sleeve. I mean, it's hard to say until people have been using it for 2 years and they're like, oh yeah, the zipper broke. But it looks like they've done some clever stuff here.
And for anybody who doesn't have a well melon, you can also remove that little patch is just Velcroed on.
Yeah, so you Velcro whatever you want on there.
Yep.
All right. Well, tell me in the comments if you think I should review it. I'll consider it. Next up, we've got the 533 magnetic transmitter strap / lanyard, and I'm covering this because I have a beef with this product, and I want to say before I get into the beef that I told Evan Turner about this beef way back when he first released this product, and he disagrees. He said, I checked the thing you complained about. It doesn't seem like an issue to me, and we're going to go ahead with the product. So with that out of the way, my beef with this product is this magnetic transmitter strap. The AU line backpack had this exact clasp on it, this magnetic clasp. I swear it's the identical clasp. And it's magnetic, so it sucks itself together and then has these little plastic clips that hold it in place. And the problem with it was if you bump the clip from the side, so if you bump it like right here, the clip lets go and the magnet isn't strong enough to hold it. And in my experience with the backpack, like when I was walking around with quads on my back, if I was just bump against the wall or something, sometimes the clips would come undone. Well, the problem is if that's your transmitter strap and you bump it, then your transmitter falls. And to me, that's an absolute deal breaker no-go. Evan tested it, and he said, we don't think it's as big of a... We couldn't really get it to do that. And I was like, well, there you go. So it is a nice clasp. It's easy to do and undo, but to me, that's the 1 in 100 or 1 in 10, whatever the chance is of it dropping your transmitter is a deal breaker.
Fair enough. I added that picture link if you want to show a picture of that clasp from the all-line backpack. Because you're right, I think it's identical, or it's very close.
It really looks like the identical clasp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Good throw that in, Blunty. Yeah, you can see how it clips in. It's so easy to just,
you just
brush against this and bump it.
I see. Yeah, it's not like recessed like you would expect it to be.
And once you undo one side, the other side just goes and comes out.
Interesting. So you don't have to hit both sides. It can like sort of corner, like angle out, right?
Exactly. It really looks identical.
Well, hopefully Evan's correct. He's got a different one that looks very close but doesn't have the same issue, and it won't be a problem.
Or maybe I'm making too much out of it. If you have one of these, test that for yourself. Just sort of brush against it and see if it lets go. Maybe I'm wrong.
All right. Last up, we've got one more product for you. And we wanted to tell you about the DJI mic. I believe we might have referred to the DJI mic before, but this is a nice little package because it's only one TX and one RX. So you can get started. You could buy another, units later and stuff to expand the system if you needed. But if you're a solo creator who just needs to maybe mic up one person or have a mic on themselves while they're working, this is a nice, easy way to do that for a couple $100 with a quality wireless microphone system.
Yeah. The DJI mic is extremely high quality in terms of its wireless link. You wear the transmitter on yourself like a lavalier mic, and then it transmits back to the receiver, which is hooked up to your camera or your audio recorder. The transmitter also has onboard recording, so you don't even need the receiver if you just want to slap that somewhere and record with it. But normally it's sold in a kit with a charging case and 2 transmitters, and it's like $400. So the ability to pick this up for $200 at Get FPV, I thought was worth a shout out. For some creator out there, you can look up some reviews of it and see what you think of it. But I actually owned this for a little while. I ended up going back to a different device for reasons which aren't too important right now, but it's a nice little kit. And that brings us to the giveaway. We got to figure out what we're going to give away this month.
One thermal camera.
One thermal camera, $3,000 that no one here wants, except one dude with a very sketchy background that I don't want to hear about in the comments. I I think my favorite thing. No, the cinelifter, the $6,000 cinelifter.
Right, that's right. Okay, fair enough. We didn't, not enough money for the camera. We got to do the cinelifter.
I want to do the Crux35. Right, it's $150. It's a fun little freaking quad. Somebody's going to enjoy it. We'll give away 2 of them, 2 Crux35 to 2 separate winners. A total of 2 to be given away, 1 to each winner. If you want to join the giveaway, there's a link down in the video description. It's below all the product links, which, by the way, I will certainly appreciate if you click those product links because they are affiliate links. And when you use those links and make any purchase at the affiliated vendor, I get some money. That's nice. All below that stuff is a link to a Google form where you can enter the giveaway. I will announce the giveaway winner in a pinned comment below this post and in a community post on my YouTube channel as well. I will email the winners from my official email address, jb@joshuabardwell.com. I only say all that stuff because there's scammers out there, Blunty, and they're going to tell you that you've won a prize. Contact me on Telegram. And then they're going to try and get you to give them money. I will never ask you to pay shipping, handling, any kind of fees in order to win a prize. Don't get scammed, please. And I will see you next month.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next month. It's good to be here. Take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy.